Now that goes against everything that you've been taught your whole life. Everything you've been taught your whole life. You've been taught that you think with your mind. But in the Quran, it talks about what the mind does. Think about some of the things the Quran says about the mind. Jesus said, let us forget the body. He said, let us forget the flesh and go with mind. And go with mind. So therefore, he is identifying that the mind is a vehicle that we could use to transcend boundaries, that we could use to transcend time and space. So when the Prophet Muhammad, he talked about going from Mecca to Jerusalem and back to Mecca in one night, the night's journey. How did he travel? He said he traveled on an animal called Barak, and this animal in one stride, he moves as far as his eyes could see at the speed of thought. At the speed of thought, he was traveling with the mind. You understand what I'm saying? What else did he say about the mind? He said, these tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind. So he's telling us that there is a workshop in the mind. And he's saying where we build up thought. He said where things are made of thought and where we build up character. Now he's telling us what we're supposed to be doing in the workshop, but that's not what you have to do because your mind is yours. You can change it when you want to. We're going to start calling out these liars. That's what we're going to do. We're going to start calling these liars out. You know, remember I was telling you about that arena? Y'all know I don't like the debate. I don't like, especially no Asiatics. I don't like debating Asiatics. Because, you know, the Prophet Muhammad told us that we must debate in the best of manners. And the fact is, Asiatics don't know how to do that all the time. You know, we think that, you know, talking loud allows for us or helps us to win an argument. Or we think that, you know, being, you know, having a crafty tongue allows for us to win the argument. Whereas I'm under the science that the only way to win an argument or a debate is to state the facts and the truth.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Paradigm Shifting the Podcast. Mr. Sheep, Maurice Pennington Bay, Master Student. I know I'm late. You know, we supposed to start this at 7 Central, but I had to make a run that led me to getting back to the house, you know, a little later than I expected. But I'm here, you know, so we're gonna demonstrate. Today we're talking about something that is very, very important. I mean, the Prophet Noble Ali, he gave us our nationality and our divine creed. He brought us the title to our vast estate. He gave us back our identity. And I mean, it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible that a lot of us don't really understand what that means simply because, you know, we are not aware of what our ancestors actually went through in the United States of America prior to the coming of the Prophet Noble Ali. Now, without a doubt or a contradiction, you know, when we talk about the institution of slavery and, you know, that time period, it has been overblown when they say that all of our ancestors were slaves, that we were all brought over here on slave ships and whatnot. That's just simply not the truth, right? It's not the truth. As a matter of fact, it was more likely that there were more free Asiatics here in America than there actually was slaves. With that being the case, I like to remind the Moors that even a free Asiatic, I mean, one that wasn't, you know, forced to work on the plantation, I mean, that's not what you call freedom. I mean, you're still, you know, subject to whatever mistreatments that the Europeans cared to bestow upon you. You don't have a nationality. You know, the Supreme Court ruled that so-called Negroes, black and colored folks didn't have any rights that a freeborn white man had to respect in this country. You know, see the Dred Scott decision in 1857. And the Prophet Noble Ali came to set us on a path of nationhood. That's just the fact. As far as our earthly salvation goes, the Prophet Noble Drew our leads, and it's setting us on a path to nationhood. A lot of Moors, especially our younger Moors, the young Moors, the ones who are new to the science, man. I understand that if you've been in the Moorish Science Temple of America for 4, 5, 6, or 7 or 10 years, you're probably under the impression that you're not new here. You're probably under the impression that you are not new to the science. In all actuality, in reality, you really are. You really are new here. Now, that doesn't take away from any, strides that you have made when it comes to studying and learning the truth about yourself. Because that's what this is about. The Moorish Science Temple of America is all about you learning what the truth is about yourself. Okay. I personally believe that that truth that we are here to learn is not um, is not correctly being um, passed down. And I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that. Let's just take a look at the temple, the entity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, and then let's deal with the some of the common perspectives that the public had about the temple and some of the members. All right, let's look at the common perspective. So the 101s, the 101s say that the Moorish Science Temple of America was founded in 1913 AD. Islam, the Moorish Science Temple of America was founded in 1913 AD. A lot of Moors today. This is something that I see, that I bear witness to. Especially on the spectrum when we talk about the social media platforms and the cloud or whatever the case may be. How y'all want to view it, right? The matrix, really what it is, the matrix. When we take a look at the matrix and we see, what is the rhetoric surrounding this Moorish Science Temple of America, the individuals like to go to 1925 when the Moorish Science Temple of America created a corporation called Moorish Science Temple of America. Well, it wasn't actually called Moorish Science Temple of America at the time, but it's the Moorish Science Temple of America only. Because I wanted to stick to what the prophet is demonstrating. Or they would go to July 20th, 1928, looking at our authority on the back of the Quran questionnaire and see where it states there that on that date, the said Moorish Science Temple of America adopted as its corporate name, Moorish Science Temple of America. And they take these documents, right? These articles of incorporation, this affidavit, of our authority, and they hold these documents and they point to these dates, and they say, "This is the Moorish Science Temple of America." And individuals will say, "Hey, well, I have the document. I have the articles of incorporation, and therefore." This is the Moorish Science Temple of America because of these articles of incorporation. This is the Moorish Science Temple of America. These same individuals, a lot of times they say, Grand Sheik or Adep or some other illustrious type. They declare that they are these individuals, right? We're going to talk about that too. And they point to these documents. But the Prophet Noble Drew Ali says that the Moorish Science Temple of America was founded in 1913 AD. And our authority has a master word. The master word There's plenty of master words in that document. But in that statement, the master word is not authority, it's our. All right. Now, when we use the term master word, okay, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America says that the teacher leaves his footprints clearly cut, which all can see and be assured that he, their master, went that way. So now when we're looking at these words and we demonstrate, hey, this is a master word because it is taking us somewhere, right? It's guiding us to the truth about what's being stated, the inner truth, the thing that we really need to know the most, that this is our authority, okay? An affidavit communicates something, whatever it is, to someone. That's what the affidavit is for. Okay, the affidavit doesn't bring a thing into existence. See, corporations come into existence through government action, and on our authority, there is a government. You see documented that a government in a certain place at a certain time, according to its own rules and usages, took action and adopted as its corporate name for that particular purpose. Corporate purposes. For corporate purposes. Okay? The corporation of that the Moorish Science Temple of America owns, called Moorish Science Temple of America, was brought into existence for corporate purposes. But the Moorish Science Temple of America was founded in 1913 AD. All right. We're going to use common sense. We're going to use common sense, all right? Another set of master words by the rules and usages of such Moorish Science Temple of America. Because everybody looks at the bottom where the Prophet Noble Drew Ali demonstrates see, heard, revised statute. Follow the instructions. See, heard, revised statute. See how it came into existence. But don't you ever forget that this demonstration came into existence by our authority according to our rules and usages, not no one else's. Okay? Not no one else's. And something else. The truth does not change, nor does it pass away. And the Moorish Science Temple of America is the truth. It is the divine truth. Remember, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali tells us over and over again that our religion, Islamism, is the old-time religion. That our flag, the flag that represents us, the clean and pure nation of Moorish Americans, is over 10,000 years old. So this is not new. This is not new. It's new to us. Because we are a people. We were a people who had been stripped of nationality and divine creed. See, this is important. So for all of the Moors who demonstrate the truth, now you demonstrate the truth when you start talking about the fact that we are home here on these shores, North America and America, while at the same time, that's only part of the truth, Moors. You are the seed of the Father, which means that you are a child of the great God Allah. So you are home anywhere in the universe. You are home. Anywhere in the universe, you are home. Okay? You are at home. So we always, we think about the fact that Islam, yes, never has and never will change. The Moorish Science Temple of America never has and it never will change. It will not. Right? So for all of you Moors, because remember, this is the power of reclaiming your narrative. Because a lot of us who are out here teaching Asiatics, we ain't teaching from the doctrine, the impregnable doctrine. We not teaching from the impregnable doctrine. We got Black's Law. And hold up, I'm not saying that we don't demonstrate from from various books, because we absolutely do. All right, but we must be rooted and fortified by the impregnable doctrine built upon love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We must be fortified. The teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire. All right, you must confirm yourself to the questionnaire. Ask yourself when you start teaching and you going into various subjects. You ask yourself prior to that. You meditate, you pray, and you ask Allah. Is what I'm about to demonstrate truly? Does it truly square with? Does it truly square with the teachings of the Prophet Noble Jew Ali? Because if you out here teaching, that means that you had been appointed and consecrated to do so. All right. But you are to extend the learning of the great prophet of Ali in America. That's what you're supposed to be demonstrating. So let's make sure that what we demonstrate squares with that. All right. So let's visit some of this stuff. So we like to demonstrate that so many of our ancestors were not slaves. As a matter of fact, it's a great possibility that the mass majority of us don't have ancestors that was actually slaves. While at the same time, they still had their nationality and their divine creed stripped from them, which means that they were still oppressed and mentally colonized and had an act of European psychology demonstrated on them. Now, we got to understand that. We got to understand that. So while we out here, yes, you are at home. Yes, you are. But don't misconstrue the truth, the reality, the suffering that all our ancestors went through. They had to go through it. Otherwise, the Prophet Noble Jew Ali wouldn't have had to come and bring us back what was lost. Something that none of us had. Okay? So when you're doing this, when you're teaching these lessons, whose narrative is you propagating? Remember what the prophet said when you get the pen in your hand. Some of us don't even want to pick up the pen. All we want to do is just, search and ask, sheet YouTube or sheet Google or sheet Chat GPT. We want to ask them to, give us all the answers. All right. So I want us to just take a moment. The sheet Renee Ciel. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull it up. The sheet Renee Ciel put a demonstration on Facebook a few days ago, and I felt like it was a powerful. The messaging is important, Morris. Messaging is very, very important. All right. One of the great issues that hurt and hinder our progress as a nation within this nation is that our messaging is not uniform as a people. We uniform messaging is a display of power and continuity. All right. So other competing nations, when they see that, they understand that they are not just dealing with little tribes and nomad groups, they understand that they are dealing with a unified and organized people. All right. So for all of those, leaders and guiders of groups of Moors, okay, understand that when the messaging between the leaders is all over the place and sometimes contrary, that is a display of weakness, and that other organized groups whom we have to compete with. We have to compete with them socially, economically, politically. They understand that they don't have to take us serious. We're not actually a threat because we are just like our medieval ancestors were when they were in Spain, and they were all separate. They had become separate little entities that it was easy for Spain to deal with these separate entities and understand that they didn't have to come against the entire Moorish Empire, because now all of a sudden every single solitary state, had their own caliph or their own sultan. It's just like, in the Moorish Science Temple of America, where there's various bodies, and each body has its own leader. Instead of us recognizing each other as leaders of this one divine body, see, that's easy. As a leader in the Moorish Science Temple of America, someone who had to have come to a degree of mastery over self, their ego first and foremost, and then a mastery over the utilization of these divine degrees that we got. It should be easy for us to work together, even if individuals have the same title. That should not mean that we contentious against one another. Even if ones have a different customs. Our Holy Quran, which is our law, this is our law. Our law grants us the authority to adopt different customs, so long as they don't go against the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's doctrine. All right. So the various customs should not even be an issue at all. And if it is an issue, if Moors is demonstrating something that we don't quite understand, they demonstrating degrees that we don't quite understand, then it should be nothing for individuals to sit down and come to an understanding. Understanding is the rock on which man builds himself. We must know the value of that. Okay, but I want to read right here. Okay, this is the sheet. Okay, so he says first it starts off with instruction 3 of Holy Covenant of the Asiatic nations. And it says, and when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity. Then it says, how many tribes of Moors worked together to conquer Spain? When the Moors conquered most of Spain in 711 AD, they weren't a single unified people, but rather a coalition of several ethnic and tribal groups from North Africa. Then he says, we have a misconception of what unity is. Historically, we have pulled off great accomplishments when our interests align despite our differences in customs. Honest to the sheep. Peru, Renaissance. This is a very, very powerful teaching, Moors. Okay. I think that every single solitary member of the Moorish Science Temple of America should really take a look at what the sheet just demonstrated right there. There's no need for us to be divided. There's no need. Okay. What happened in the past, actions carried out by individuals way before any of us was born, man. We can't change it. Ain't nothing we can do about it. Ain't nothing we can do about it. I personally, have the majority of the members in my temple know nothing about Moorish Science Temple of America until recently. Nothing, which is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, because they don't have to unlearn, any of the bad habits and just call it what it is, false and made up teachings that some of the Moors who have probably been around for a while have had cultivated within them. So it's a beautiful thing. While at the same time, my nephew, James Ambrose Bay, he said, one time, and I'm gonna tell you, these Moors, they don't even pay that stuff no attention. You know, when you don't teach that, like that's not a standard that I say. Like I don't have any malicious feelings towards anyone. I don't have any malicious feelings toward any member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, no matter who you with or where you from. I hope I have nothing against that, and I don't. So they don't hear that. They don't get that here. So but when they see the other Moors doing stuff like that, they just look. They don't want nothing to do with it. But my nephew told me, he said, "Man, it's sloppy. It's messy." That's how young people talk. You look at it, man, that's messy. I don't want nothing to do with that. And just keep it moving. So for the Moors who, this is what you do, because some Moors, and I understand, some Moors, they say, hey, you know what? I'm here to set the record straight. I'm here to set the record straight. Okay. Well, let's consult the prophet. This what the elders taught me. And let me set the record straight before I even get into that. I was blessed. I was blessed and coming into the Moorish Science Temple of America. I called some elders, where I was, at the last right at the last days of their lives, and you know they demonstrated some good teachers and were really good examples of what we should be. I'll just say that. Okay. But let's consult the Prophet Noble Ali. The Prophet Noble Ali said, imitate your prophet whenever teaching a group of Moors, any group of Moors. Imitate your prophet. So when the Prophet Noble Ali was on the scene, for those of us who have studied, his life and the time when he was here, we know that there were Muslims in the Americas who were outraged at the idea that the Prophet Noble Ali, was could be considered a prophet. That was outrageous to them. They was outraged. They made their feelings known. They wrote to the Middle East, and they had all types of fatwas made against the Prophet Noble Ali. People, these individuals so-called denouncing, the Moorish Science Temple of America and the Prophet Noble Ali altogether. And but we don't have anything recorded where the Prophet even said anything, back, or even felt the need to defend what he brought us. We don't see nowhere in the Prophet's writings, in any of it, where the Prophet Noble Ali even felt the need to try to explain what he was doing or why. We don't see no record of that. So even with some of the other Asiatic leaders at that time, like, it's no secret to any of us that the Prophet Noble Ali was not received well by the NAACP and its executive and administrators. He was not received well by them. They felt like you know, it was something wrong with his approach to liberation, I'm gonna say, of our people. But we don't have anything. There's nothing, not one statement that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali made, you know, against these people to try to, you know, discredit them and their claims, or to try to, you know, to try to just prove to the whole wide world that his entire teachings and doctrines and methods were the truth. That was for us. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he taught his sheiks and his adepts, and they in turn taught the members, and the members in turn had their conditions made better. That was what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So when we say that, you know, we are going to, you know, set the record straight, even if that means that, you know, I'm gonna be arguing with you or possibly fighting with you or anything. Oh, we gotta remember that the Negro problem is real. You know, we have to remember that, you know, we've had active European psychology demonstrated on us. You know, so we liable to do anything. You know, the Moors, we liable to snap down. You know, we liable to trip out and revert back to what we knew and did for so long. You know, and we are willing to go there with one another. How was that imitating the prophet? You know, the Prophet Noble Drew, there's no record anywhere that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali carried on like this. And he said in his law, in the law, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali say, imitate I your prophet whenever teaching a group of Moors. And then he said, any group of Moors. So it don't mean if you teaching in Sunday school, if you teaching from the holy altar on Friday, if you teaching standing on the corner, if you teaching on a podcast called Paradigm Shifting the Podcast, to whoever might hear you, these are groups of Moors, and the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said to imitate him when in teaching any group of Moors. That's the law. That's the law. So how do you justify? How do you justify saying that you're going to do anything other than what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali told you to do? And then say that you moving with the Prophet. Now, I say this in love. Because what I would like to do is to call remembrance to A. In Sunday school today, you know, I want to let the membership know and understand something. It says, did the angel give to the child that was called Jesus a holy name? Yes, but it cannot be. But it cannot be used by those who are slaves to sin. By those who are slaves to sin. So my question then was, what is a slave to sin? Like, what does it mean to be a slave to sin? And I asked the Moors to give me an example of a sin. And Casimir Pennington Bay says, stealing. And I say, okay, so if a person steals, does that make them a slave to sin? And easily, like, no. Well, what makes them a slave to sin is someone who keeps stealing, someone who steals for a living. You know, someone, you know, that's an individual who is a slave to sin. So I say, now, this individual who steals, but they're not a slave to sin, it could very well be the using of their name, their holy name, that gets them on the right track. It can very well be. So they could act. So this person, like, you know, we fall off our foot. You know what we used to say, the elders used to say, when ones fall off their square, they see them off their square doing things that's unbecoming of a Muslim. Oh man, that more out there in Asia. You know that mean you off your square. You in the world. You know you done took to the darkness, right? You done went into the darkness. But if you were a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and you find yourself stumbling back into the dark, you got something that individuals who are not members of the Moorish Science Temple of America or any other orders, there's other orders that demonstrate these teachings. Now, we don't got a monopoly on it, right? But if you stumble back into the darkness, you have a light, Mo. You have a light, and you have a map. So you have a light and you have a map to see your way out of that dark. Okay. And it's not in the possession of good things, but it's in the knowing to use them. So now you have your map, your Moorish American prayer, you have your light, your hope. But you have your holy name to remind you of your divine origin, your divine connection, to remind you that you are a child, the seed of the Most High God Allah. So you very well might use your name to see your way out of the darkness. But an individual who is a slave to sin, let me tell y'all something. Most of the time, it's at least what I think. These individuals who are slaves to sin, which it don't mean they don't mean they're gonna be slaves forever. They get emancipated. You understand? But the individuals who are slaves to sin right now, as it goes, they're not meditating and praying. Not meditating and praying, meditating on the wonders of Allah's, just sit back, and just think about it. Say, man, I used to be Snake. I used to be a gang, but I remember, there was a time where, Mickey Cobra was my religion. Mickey Cobra was what drove me. All right. Getting money in the streets, selling drugs, that's what drove me. That was my religion. Those material things, just like those Israelites who have been brought out of Egypt by Moses. They took the gold and the silver that they had came out of Egypt with, and they made a calf. They made a god out of it. I was the same way. You know what I mean? I was the same way. So I sit back a lot of times and I think about that. Then I say, you know what? But today I'm not Snake. I am Sheik Maurice Pennington Bang. Oh, so much power in that. It's so much transformative, transcending, unfettered, unbound power in that. And I think about it. And that's what keeps me on my square. Well, if I fall off my square, that's what puts me back on my square. Sheik Maurice Pennington Bang, who used to be Snake, who used to be a gangbanger, who used to sell dope. All right. And that's also what helps me to understand. That's what helps me to understand what my people is going through. That's what the prophet Jesus was saying to the Hierophant. Because you always got it. You want to know, when you in the temple mode, and I'm demonstrating, the 101s, we have a system. So we demonstrating, we teaching, But then, you know, you sit down and you talk with the Moors one-on-one, where it's just you and them. And for every single solitary one of us who have degrees to convert, we gonna confer these degrees on individuals whom we deem worthy. Those we gonna do that. Whom we deem worthy. Individuals who fit the criteria. Okay. But we gonna still be right there with those individuals who are striving towards purity in life. We're gonna be right there giving them the degrees they need for that purpose. That's just what we do. That's who we are. All right. So there is power. There is power to be had in us reclaiming our narrative. You got so many people. You got so many people out there making a living off of writing about you, off of doing podcasts and lectures about you and your illustrious history and the illustrious body of knowledge brought into the world by you. You have people who call together individuals whom they deem worthy from amongst themselves to share the degrees that are yours so that they could secure peace and happiness for their posterity while we are in ghetto. And think about it now. We are in ghettos making the ghetto. I mean, we making it the ghetto. There is nothing stopping us from gentrifying our own neighborhoods. Nothing but us. We are the only ones in the way. When I go to Chicago and walk down the Chicago streets, and I'm looking at my people, these is my people. All of the things that they are going through, yes. You have people working to make sure that what our people have come to be accustomed to is what they most likely going to get. Yeah, people, they working for that. They making sure that the education system is not of a high enough standard to consistently produce individuals with the academic foundation to just change the condition of their people. You could do it like this, but they make sure they give them just enough. And then those individuals who go in and into these inferior learning institutions and they prosper and they rise like the cream rise to the top. You know, they pluck them, you know, and bring them into their own system, you know, to help further their cause. You know what I mean? That's what they do. You know, that's, you know, I was talking to Dede Bay about that yesterday when we was talking about some of the fraternal orders that's in these colleges. You know, that's the purpose of it. You know, that the purpose of those orders is to gather potential, you know, to gather the individuals who, you know, are in these collegiate institutions, you know, getting this education that's going to be useful for some of these big companies who the owners of these companies and the CEOs of these companies are members of these fraternal orders. You understand me? And you know, when you look at the Moorish Science Temple of America, you say, well, where does the majority of the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America come from? Okay, it's two places now. Internet via YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, etc., and prison. Yep. Those are the largest recruiting ground for the Moorish Science Temple of America. Prison, yep, and Facebook. Whereas you go into one of these large corporations like Apple, and you say, well, where are they getting their members from? Yale, Harvard. You understand what I'm saying? All right. So that's something that we need to really sit down as a collective and say, hey, you know what, we I think maybe we need to start targeting Asiatics earlier in their life prior to the world already having really run them through the ring and chase them into the temple. Maybe we should get to them a lot earlier and start giving them these degrees a lot earlier in life. And then too, maybe we should start writing more books, doing more documentaries, and doing more, intentional lectures and stuff like that about the Moorish Science Temple of America and what it stands for. And maybe we should just talk to each other more. Maybe we should, give each other calls and sit down and kick it and, kind of see where we at. Bounce ideas off of one another, tell me what you think about what's going on in the world today, especially in the United States of America where we live. I mean, more it's like how y'all feel about what's going on in Texas? How y'all feel about that? They over there in Texas, they trying to redistrict. They trying to change the redistrict, which could add, they say up to 5, seats to one political party. All right. I mean, what you think about that? 5 more seats for a political party is also 5 more electoral college votes. Okay. So, I mean, with that being the case, as these political maps are drawn, you have to look at them strategically. When you running for office, you have to look at them strategically. You just have to. You have to say, well, what do I need to, what states do I need to win? And certain states, like I'm here in Illinois right now. The way the map is drawn, unless they start really chopping Chicago up, the Democrats will always win. They're gonna always win. So what what if they was to redistrict, because there are counties in Illinois, lots of counties, as a matter of fact, that are Republican counties. But what if they was to redistrict the map and cut into some of the Democratic counties and bring more seats to the Republican counties? And I mean, that's cheating. That is cheating. That is straight up cheating. And it's like it's not all right. So I mean, what do you think about that? And then you have the Democrats in Texas done fled the freaking state. they literally fled the state to keep. I mean, like this is the type of government we got. We got a government where the people can't even sit down and talk to each other and hash things out. You got a whole entire party that's just not present. And we have a constitution that don't say anything about political parties. So how do you get the right to stop business because y'all members of a political party? Show me in the Constitution. Show me in the Constitution. You've been hired to do a job. Y'all been hired to do a job, and y'all just left work. So I mean, what do we think about this? All nothing. These are the people who we want to allow to keep on creating or writing our narrative for us. This is who we gonna let do it. This dysfunctional. This is dysfunction at its finest. And then, just look at it. You got, so other states, governors are saying, well, if Texas redistrict and create seats for the Republican Party, then we're gonna redistrict over here and create seats for the Democratic Party. What about the people? What about us? What about us? How do we feel about this type of thing? Why aren't we talking about it? And let me tell you something. I don't know about the rest of the grand seats in the Moorish Science Temple of America, but people stop me walking down the streets. People call me and they ask me about this. They ask me about this stuff and all types of other stuff. They expect us to know. They expect us to have answers. So we should talk about these things amongst each other. We should see, where do we stand? Where do we stand as the Moorish Science Temple of America? This is very important. This is very important. All right. There's a chapter in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The title of it is The Insufficiency of Knowledge. And in the beginning, it says, if there's anything lovely, if there's anything desirable, if there's anything worthy of praise within the reach of man, is it not knowledge? And then it goes on to say some things about it. It says, the statesman proclaimeth that he had it. The ruler claimed the praise of it, but findeth the subject that he possesses it. It. What is it? See, a lot of us assume, because it said, is it not knowledge? But that's a question. It's not a statement. It's not a statement. And it said that it, what it truly is worthy of praise. So it's not knowledge. Remember, we Muslims, we only praise Allah. So it's not knowledge. We don't praise knowledge. There's a whole story in the great Quran of Muhammad about somebody who misunderstood knowledge. The prophet Musa misunderstood knowledge. He had to go and learn a lesson from the sheep, how to deal with knowledge. All right. But it's truth. And the statesman claimed he got it. He proclaimed he got it. When he get out there and start campaigning and he tell the whole world, I got it. Vote for me. I'm going to solve all your problems. I'm going to run all your adversaries out of Washington, D.C. We going to change the world and the world is going to be great. Just vote for me. Trust me, I got it. And the ruler claimed with the praise of it. I am it. I am the truth. I am the truth. This world will not exist without me. It's because of me that everything good that exists. It exists because of me. Doggone it, I'm the truth. But then it be the subject. Going through the process of learning. learning for a reason, because they got real problems that they need to solve. Real problems. They can't afford to sit on their hands. They got real problems that need solving. And in their study, and in their utilizing every single solitary resource that they can get their hands on. Because life is life and for real. So they using their resources and they come to know, whoa, I possess it. The truth. Moors, the key of civilization is in our hands. It is in our hands. I want to say something that y'all that's from the streets, y'all that's really from the streets, those of you who really from the streets, you finna get ready to understand what I'm finna get ready to say. Some people ain't gonna understand. Some of y'all might even think, why Sheik, Moorish Pennington Bay, why did you use that example? Listen, it's a hard example, but it's true. Okay? From the streets. How many people, how many of our young people out there in the streets get shot down and killed? And when the ambulance and the police get to the body, they find that they got guns on them. These young people, these people are dying. They are getting killed, but they strapped. That is what's happening to us. We being killed. We getting dogged out here, and we strapped. But we don't know to use it. We ain't using it, y'all. We ain't using it. We out here getting dogged. Real talk. It is time for us to take back our power. It's time for us to start defining ourselves to the world. It's time for us to stop letting other people write our story. I mean, you the one living that life. Islam. All right. So, paradigm shifting the podcast is about to go through some changes. I'm working with some Moors, and we creating a platform called Simply Moorish Science Media. Simply Moorish Science Media. It's open for every faithful Moorish American that needs a platform, that has services, products, or information that need to get out to the masses. And so Paradigm Shifting the podcast is fixing to get ready to go through some what I believe is going to be some pretty good transformation. It's going to be some additions to the as far as hosts who I know for a fact are going to bring some real good things to what I've been doing and tinkering with over the last what it's been like a year and a half now. You know what I mean? So go over to my YouTube channel, Baby Truth Forever. Check out what I got on there right now. Some of the stuff, there's a lot of trial and error more. If y'all been following me for a while, you know how I came, man. I just came in my mind. It was like, man, I never seen the internet before. Didn't know nothing about Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, none of this type of stuff. And I just couldn't believe that, individual wasn't really taking advantage of it. So I just hit it hard. I hit it hard and just started flooding it with my measure. This is my portion. You understand me? This is my portion so much as I understand my portion, so much as my portion has been revealed to me. This is my portion. I've just been demonstrating and putting it out there for about 6 months. I um I wasn't I had a lot going on, lifestyle life, so I couldn't keep on doing the podcast. So um I'm not really as effective. I'm not really being pushed by these algorithms like I used to, but I did it before. I know what to do. I know how to get it out there. For one, number one, it takes, you got to be consistent. All right. With that being the case, I need y'all to go over to my goal. If you haven't subscribed to Baby Truth Forever on YouTube, I got like 5,000. Let me check it out. I'm gonna look at it real quick. But I think I got some like 5,500 and some subscribers. Uh, yeah, 5,934 subscribers. Okay, so I would like to get see that number hit 6,000. I would like to see it hit 6,000 this week. Let's see if that ain't nothing but 66 subscribers. So if you like what we talking about, you like what we doing right here, uh definitely hit that like button. That's important. But share it. You know what I mean? Share it with your friends, your family, your loved ones. Get the information out there. We're trying to shift some paradigms. There needs to be a paradigm shift. Our people, we need to shift. There needs to be a paradigm shift. So share the videos. I put out a lot of shorts, a lot of stuff. I wrote a workbook when I first came home called Success, the Journey Begins Now. And that workbook is for individuals who are recently released from prison, who may not be where they need to be in order to be successful out here in society. So there's some lessons in the book for those individuals, a format that they could use to get prepared. So I started that course uh, through another nonprofit organization called Restore. So I took Success, the Journey Begins Now, which was originally written under a nonprofit organization that I was working on developing called Advanced Notions, and I um, brought it together with Restore, and we started already teaching. 2 weeks ago, we started already with some guys, that's out. Um, but we go into the work release center starting next Saturday. Next Saturday and Sunday, we just be going into the work release center, dealing with their level 1 and level 2 guys who are recently, coming into the work release center. We're gonna get those men prepared to be successful out here in society. All praise to Allah. And that's something that we'll be doing in the temple. In the temple, we'll be doing that. That's something that we're doing down here in Peoria, Illinois. So I have those workbooks. So any grand sheiks or heads of temples out there that in all our states and all our cities, they have work release centers. They have halfway houses. This is a program that any of you all, if you want to facilitate this program in your temple, to help, the individuals. That's how we protect. That's one of the ways that we can protect our communities. By getting these men and women who are recently released and supplying them with some tools that they can use so that they can make a living and be successful, and therefore they won't end up back in the streets committing crimes, or back on drugs because they trying to cope with the fact that they back out here in the streets. So if that's something that y'all want to get and facilitate in your temple, and probably get grant funding that you can use to contribute to growing your temple, just call me. I help you get the workbooks. They self-explanatory. We can sit down on a Zoom class, or talk on Messenger, and I can explain exactly how to facilitate the program. And since I already talk with the administration here in the Department of Corrections, and won them over. They definitely they excited about this program. They know that it'll work because I am a product. I am a product of the information. I am a product of the information. I was just myself recently released, and I've been doing all right. So with that being the case, anybody wanna get the workbook Success the Journey Begins Now, um, connect with Restore and start facilitating this program, in your own communities, to help your own communities and to help your temple grow. Then just hit me up and we can get that. We can start doing that. So yeah, Mo, it's time. Let's work. I mean, that's what it's about. It's about uplifting fallen humanity. We have to be crafty. We have to use our imaginations. We have to understand. We have to understand. We have to understand, exactly where we at, what's going on, and we really, really, really have to really contemplate and meditate on what our people need. Remember, the Prophet Noble Ali said that we are building on human needs. All right, so we got to start thinking about the needs of the people. You understand me? The current the current governments, the people who hold power right now, they are working on what the people want, because if they can dangle what the people want in front of them like a carrot, then they can spin like a mule. And we know, we know that in reality, a Negro is an animal that has four legs, a beast of burden. Okay, so that's something that we're doing. So again, if you like the video, shoot over to if you have YouTube, shoot over to Beta Truth Forever. Subscribe to the channel. There is, oh yeah, and you can't, okay, it's nothing posted there yet. Not yet. The channel is Simply Moorish Science Media. All right, Simply Moorish Science Media. Go over to YouTube, check out Simply Moorish Science Media. Coming up soon, it's gonna be all type of stuff going on that channel. All right, it's gonna be all type of stuff going on. We're gonna be demonstrating. I'm gonna be personally demonstrating what something that I've been working on and wanting to do for a long time, called the Master Student Series. The Master Student Series is going to be a segment where I take the doctrine of the Moorish Science Temple of America and I'm applying what I have come to understand as principles of learning. I will show to individuals who would like to learn and master these lessons. I'll be walking you through, some I'll be walking you through the system as the way that I learn, to apply to learning and the Prophet Noble Ali's teachings. All right. If you notice, I put the link to the StreamYard in the comments. I do that every time. Anybody is welcome. Anybody, even if you want to come on here and and build on the topic, you want to talk about, something you got on you. Remember, I'm a brand seeker of the Moorish Science Temple of America more. So if you just want to come on here, you got something on you and you need to get it off. I don't care what I'm talking about. Okay, the title of the podcast does not take precedence over the trust that has been invested in me and my duty. So if we need to pray, if we need to whatever, you want to just hop on here, just come on here, you put it in the comments or click the link, come up on stage anytime. You understand me? That's always the Prophet Noble at least told us to accommodate thyself to all. So anytime, just know that door is always open. And I also put my phone, that's my phone number. I get a ton of spam calls. Hey, it is what it is, that's my number. You can call me anytime. You go on Facebook, you see me, you can message me anytime. I'm here. This is what we do, right? This is what we do. This is what it is, what else? Yeah, that is what it is. So peace and love. And it's an honor. It's an honor to be able to do this. It's an honor to be able to do this. Peace and love.
We're going to start calling out these liars. That's what we're going to do. We're going to start calling these liars out. Remember I was telling you about that arena? Y'all know I don't like to debate. I don't like, especially no Asiatics. I don't like debating Asiatics. Because, the Prophet Muhammad told us that we must debate in the best of manners. And the fact is, Asiatics don't know how to do that all the time. We think that, talking loud allows for us or helps us to win an argument. Or we think that, being, having a crafty tongue allows for us to win the argument. Whereas I'm under the science that the only way to win an argument or a debate is to state the facts and the truth. All right? Now that goes against everything that you've been taught your whole life. Everything you've been taught your whole life. You've been taught that you think with your mind. But in the Quran, it talks about what the mind does. Think about some of the things the Quran says about the mind. Jesus said, let us forget the body. He said, let us forget the flesh and go with mind. And go with mind. So therefore, he is identifying that the mind is a vehicle that we could use to transcend boundaries, that we could use to transcend time and space. So when the Prophet Muhammad, he talked about going from Mecca to Jerusalem and back to Mecca in one night, the night's journey. How did he travel? He said he traveled on an animal called Barak, and this animal in one stride, he moves as far as his eyes could see at the speed of thought. At the speed of thought, he was traveling with the mind. You understand what I'm saying? What else did he say about the mind? He said, these tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind. So he's telling us that there is a workshop in the mind. And he's saying where we build up thought. He said where things are made of thought and where we build up character. Now he's telling us what we're supposed to be doing in the workshop, but that's not what you have to do because your mind is yours. You can change it when you want to.